Live, and since my hair is gotten thicker, I'm starting to fix it the way I used to when I was in college or a young single mom. There you go. That's the photo. Okay, so that's why it looks a little different. I didn't cut it. Okay. So we're going to talk about talks and teaching and training today. All the different things that I've learned, and I'm not always perfect at it, but I'm just teaching you a few things that I learned. Okay, so first off, in any talk, teaching, or training, you want to have 3 to 5 concepts. You can list them specifically, or you can list them kind of randomly, like my son gave a talk in church once and he called it The Boy in the Bushes, a Rabbit, and the Boy in the Bushes, which was very spiritual and amazing. I know, how did he do that? It was amazing though. Okay, so you want to have the 3 basic, well, mine's talks and teaching and training. So there's 3, and if you're in Sesame Street, it's the letter T today. Okay, so anyway, we're going to talk about that. You want to have 3 tips that you say, or 3 things that you say at the beginning of your presentation, and then you go into detail about that, and then you end with the same 3 things. Or 5 things, whichever you do. Now, if it's a 10-hour or a 10-page paper, it's the same in term papers, another T, term papers or 10-page papers, whatever that you end up having in school, it's the same thing. You start with the basics of what you're going to say, you answer each of those things, and then you end with what you're going to say. Okay, so if it's a large paper, then you go into the itty bitty tiny details. Okay, so you might want to say, every little thing about talks and every little thing about teaching or training. So anyway, we're just going to keep it short today, so it's not going to be that long. Anyway, you want to practice or time yourself. Make sure that you keep it to the 3 minutes or the 10 minutes or the whatever you have to do. Also, now in person, we're going to talk about becoming a discussion leader, because 90%, you remember 90% of the things more that you do. Unless you're over 80, then you remember 90% more of what you did, because your short-term memory is not so good. Anyway, so if you remember 90% more of what you do, so you want your audience to be in this discussion mode so that they're engaged and they're doing something with you. Okay, so let's talk about a good question versus a bad question in a discussion. A bad question is a specific. Give me the date, unless you're on a game show. Give me the date of when America was discovered, or give me the date of the exact specifics. You don't want exact specifics in your questions, because those are difficult unless you're giving away something, as prizes, or maybe, but usually that's a bad question. Okay, a good question is thought-provoking, personal stories, share an example or something. In fact, in this Facebook topic, feel free to share this on your Facebook page, but also you can write in comments. I would love to know your ideas on really successful things that was happening when you gave a presentation, a talk, or a training. That would be awesome. I would love to engage and get those and share those with everybody. Okay, so back when I taught primary or elementary school, sometimes in elementary school, I didn't do this all the time, but in primary I would give them treats. Or when you're teaching school or Sunday school or something, I would give them treats, and while they were chewing, I would tell them the most important concepts that they had to get, and then we'd have a discussion. So that's one idea. But anyway, so that's the good questions, is thought-provoking, something that they can remember their experiences or something they can share with, because everybody has something that you can learn from. Okay, now when you get into a discussion, you have to realize that you're going to have you'll have that random comment, I got a new puppy, or the squirrel concept. Okay, so that happens. You'll get something that's completely off the topic. And how do you handle that positively? You compliment the person, thank you, that was very insightful, and then you bring it back or liken it to something in your real conversation, the topic that you're actually covering, and then you bring it back home to where you were, and you pick it up as if nothing had happened. So sometimes you'll have that, and if you have lots of topics, you may want to have little discussion groups where you have a group of where you can assign team leaders, and you can have 3 little discussion groups. They can go through the topics and then come back together as a main group, and everybody share the main thing that they learned or the main thing that they came through. And so those are some ideas. And then you always want to end with your testimony of some kind. If you're selling a product, your testimony of the product. If you're selling, if you're recruiting money, if you're talking in church, then perhaps Jesus, God, prayer, whatever you are talking about, then you want to sum that up at the very end. So I hope this has been very helpful, and please share your comments. I would love to hear any great training tips that you have.